To the second in a trilogy of programs about using the West Education Network. This morning we had a wonderful program dealing with getting started with Twen. And this afternoon we're going to spend some time talking specifically about the collaborative, using Twen as a collaborative device in different ways that it can be used. But first, Carr Johnson from West wanted me to make the point that you do have some questionnaire or something apparently that they distributed. I forgot to mention this morning, but I should mention it now, and please complete. And then this afternoon there are hands-on labs in which you can actually use Twen, go and play with it if you want to. I teach law at the University, Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Had been there several years after spending a good part of my career at the University of Minnesota. And that's why I'm sweating so much now. I got acclimated to Minnesota and southern climate. I teach you commercial law and bankruptcy subjects. I'm here today, though, because I have for many years been involved with the West Education Network. Joining me on the panel today is Justin Hummel, who is the project manager for Twen, and I'm very proud to also to share the forum today with Bill Funk, who teaches at Lewis and Clark. Started in 1983. Before that, was assistant general counsel for the United States Energy Department. Bill teaches obviously in the areas of administrative law and constitutional law, and I'm so happy to be on the podium with him because I think he really is probably the most consistent, clearest voice about these subjects, and writes extensively at the intersection of all of these subjects. I don't know how anyone keeps up without reading Funk in the administrative and regulatory law news. I don't know how the hell he has time to be here today. He's always got something going in print. He has a casebook out, a new administrative procedure casebook out that was reviewed recently, and I love this. I was the one who write this about me. The reviewer wrote, although designed as a law school casebook, it is a must for scholars, practitioners, and judges in the field. I can attest to its highly readable, smooth writing style because with minimal skimming, the reviewer says, I devoured the first 200 pages on the first sitting. Wouldn't it be wonderful if your students took your casebook and sat down on the first reading being read, the first 200 pages? So Bill is a genuine legal scholar, and also as well a very good teacher who has been making use of Twen, especially in the collaborative area, and that's why we're here today. Let me give you just a tiny bit of background, and we're going to talk a little bit, but then certainly open to any of your questions and just have discussions with you if you like. They really tell you about our own experiences, both the good and the bad aspects of using any of this kind of technology for this purpose, and not just Twen. Twen first really started in the mid about 1994 in Minnesota. And I was there. I was involved in the early development of Twen, and I can tell you that its purpose from the very beginning was to be used as a collaborative tool. That was the whole idea. Some of us who knew nothing about technology and still don't know anything about technology wanted to make use of technology, if we could, for collaborative purposes beyond the classroom. Certainly, I didn't get into this business with technology to displace the classroom. I love it. What I want to do is to make the classroom a much better place, much more effective, much more efficient. But my subjects had become so wide, the commercial law and bankruptcy, there were so many things going on, and my brain was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I needed some way to try to bring more expertise into my course beyond the classroom itself, and do it in ways that were really good for the students. And so that was really the beginning of Twen. Wes got involved with the University of Minnesota Law School faculty to help design some kind of technology to do that. And the very first semester that Twen was used, and this is back when Twen was, the very first iteration was on a Lotus Notes platform. And the very first time it was used was in my contracts class at the University of Minnesota, 125 students who had to be there, didn't know any better. That's back when RAM was not free. Some of you are too young to remember. RAM used to be really, really expensive. And if you had 4 RAM, you had a lot, and it cost hundreds of bucks. We used Lotus Notes. Every student had 16 disks, client disks, to load onto their machine, and dial-up access over to the computer. So it was really hard to use, difficult to use. It took a lot of effort on faculty's part, on my part, and on the students' part. But it was enormously successful the very first semester because students saw some value in it. They saw that it was really enriching the classroom experience. And the first use that I made, beyond simply collaborating with the students themselves, and this afternoon we'll have a session that talks about getting students involved. The very first use, that very first semester, was my bringing 4 state Supreme Court judges into my class to be co-teachers with me. Contract class, very first semester, kids very excited, very anxious to work. In the discussion forum in Twen, the older version, they would get involved in discussions about things we had talked about in the class or problems in the casebook, and I posted some of those. They would debate these matters online, and then that debate would carry over into the classroom. And they got really frustrated because they could never get an answer. And they thought because they couldn't get an answer that these debates would simply go on forever, of course. And that's what you do apparently, is just argue forever, never ending there. And I thought this was a pretty good opportunity to say, well, you may argue for a long time, but it is going to end, and somebody's going to bring it to an end. So I got Supreme Court judges in 4 different states, 4 states in the 8th Circuit. Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Minnesota, just north-south in the 8th Circuit. Supreme Court judges from those 4 to agree to come into my classroom online and to serve as the appellate court for the class. The kids would argue, the students would argue these problems among themselves, and then at some point we would decide there'd been enough argument among the students, among us, and we would bump it to the separate discussion area where the Supreme Court judges would, after a few days, render a decision, setting en banc. Although none of them, except the one Minnesota judge, ever stepped foot into the classroom. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience where you've got brand new law students in the very first semester with contracts, something they kind of understand, being able to argue among themselves and then argue to Supreme Court justices and have these folks come back and render their. And the judges were all very nice. They stayed in all semester long, and they always came back 3-1. So even the folks who lost, nevertheless convinced one person. And from that, I have used Twen virtually every semester since then in some collaborative way beyond simply the discussion forum involving the students. And what I'd like to do is to show you right off the bat how easy it is to set up a class in Twen to involve other collaborators, including co-teachers and share forums, just the little mechanical things to show you how easy it is. And then Bill and I will talk about our own experiences and some other kind of collaborative aspects of this. First of all, a faculty member who wants to use Twen simply goes to either go to www.twen or can go to Westlaw or can go to westlaw.com. There are all kinds of links, very easy to get to the Twen homepage. We'll be able to register and set up her course very, very easily, whether she's got an Ethernet connection or modem or whatever. Get to the class, and if you want, this is actually a commercial paper class I taught last semester. My debtor creditor class of a year or so, 2 years ago, with David Epstein, who's one of my co-authors, at that time was a practicing lawyer with King and Spalding in Atlanta, who actually co-taught that course with me. And when you set up a course in Twen, put in the name of the course, you have some options where you can select if there will be a co-teacher or not. And Justin, you want to go back behind that here? Now we're going back on one of the tools into the commercial paper course. We want to modify. We want to modify that course. When you create the course, this is where you have the option. This course already exists. We'll simply go in and modify the course information. These are things that have already been added. And if you want to have a scroll them down, didn't you? Here's where you can enter the West password for any co-teacher. Practitioners, of course, have Westlaw passwords themselves. In this case, I simply took David Epstein's password and put in, and he was listed as being a co-teacher of the class. I had all the same access that I had to the class. If you have someone that you want to be a co-teacher with you to collaborate in the class, to use them, and they don't have a Westlaw password, a permanent one, you simply contact Justin or a West representative, and they will get a temporary password for use with Twen. You simply get that number and plug it in, and there they are. They're listed as a co-teacher. And then once they're listed, they have access to Twen, can use it in exactly the ways that you do, and it's a very flexible tool. What we did with Epstein, a practitioner as a co-teacher, is he participated in the discussion forums and gave kind of a practical view of some of the questions that we dealt with, particularly with regard to bankruptcy. That's his area of expertise. So students would ask questions or make comments, and I would give the highly theoretical, mostly impractical kind of answers to those. And then Epstein would come on from the practitioner's view, very often linking us to documents that he had been working with, and linking us to cases that he had worked on, and that sort of thing. And that's simply one way in which I have used outsiders in addition to having experts like judges come into the class. It's also possible to use this in various other ways. One way, and this has been done by a number of folks across the country, is to share forums. It may be that Bill and I would be teaching the same class or similar classes, and we would like for our students to share materials that Bill and I have prepared for both sets of students. Maybe I've created some materials that I will allow Bill's students to get to those. Well, here what you can do, you walk them through, back up, let's do this. Any one of them. Okay. Share. You see over here this button, Share Forum. You take the discussion database or any other database that you want to share with a teacher or someone somewhere else, indicate that you want to share that forum, and then you pick the school that you want to share, participate in your forum. And then the students there have access into that particular forum. They can participate for discussions, can participate in the sense of getting materials and all of that. And so you can bring in and have co-teachers simply by adding their numeric part of their Westlaw password. Very simple. All of this is done on the web, sitting at your desk, as long as you know your Westlaw password and can get in. And you can share forums with students at other schools. And this has been highly successful, been used by a number. There are also other devices, other ways to use this collaboratively. And I'll turn it over to Bill to talk about those, especially including author forums, shared Twen experience, and that sort of thing. Okay?
I want to start right away by saying one of the things I'm not a technical person. I don't know anything. I don't even know what Lotus Notes is. I think I'm unusual at this conference that as being really not somebody who's into technology. I was trying to get my email. I know that much, so I go here and something like FTP, and I don't even know how to do that. All right, that's how unknowledgeable I am about this stuff. But Twen I can use. It's easy for me to use, which I think is its primary selling feature to law professors, especially the ones who aren't necessarily technically competent. And I say that I'm also somebody who likes to try things out. So I also tried out the virtual classroom from LexisNexis. Last semester I had 2 courses, constitutional law, environmental law, and I did environmental law using virtual classroom, and I did the constitutional law using Twen to be able to compare the two and to see how they work. Actually, this is being sponsored by Twen, so I'll tell you how Twen worked very well. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm here, I guess, is because I really liked how useful it was, how easy it was to use, how easy it was for the students to use it, which is another problem, is getting them to get online, to do the stuff. If there are things that stand in their way of using it, then they won't use it. And the result was I had a lot of people using the Twen forum and not as many using the virtual classroom of LexisNexis. And if people were here in the morning and didn't get their questions answered, or if they weren't here in this morning and have questions, I have a lot of my real experience, basic experiences with basic use of Twen as an adjunct to a course, an ordinary course, forget the collaborative stuff. But I did do some collaborative stuff, and I also am a West author, so I have an author forum. And the author forum is interesting for everybody who, I guess just about everybody who's a West or Foundation Press author. Twen has author forums for their books. And these are places where people who use the book can go to communicate with other people who use that book and with the authors of the book. Now, this is not highly used by a lot of people because I think a lot of people aren't aware that it exists out there yet. But it is, I know, among the people who are aware of it, it's something that's been highly used. I've had a lot of communications from some of the people who have used my book in administrative law to contact me directly by email, which they can click on my name in the author's forum to do, and ask questions. We have posted sample syllabi for the course. We are maintaining an online supplement so that we can put the supplements to the case book online rather than have a published paperback that would come out every couple of years, but have the supplement online and be able to post and say, we've put something new online, and on the author forums, when something new goes on one of these things, it turns a different color for a while, and it was a little flag that says new for a while, so that if you check every so often, you see, oh, there's something new there. They must have supplemented. Somebody must have said something, so you can go and check it and see what's new there. So the author forum is really as I say, not highly utilized yet because not a lot of people know about it, but it's very useful, I think, for teachers who are using the book, both to be able to communicate with the authors directly and to talk to other members, other people who are using the casebook about similar problems. Are you having a problem teaching this chapter? How do you deal with this? All right? I have that sense all the time with other people's casebooks that I wonder, how do you deal with this particular thing? And of course, nobody at my school is necessarily using it, so what do? You don't even know who might be using it. Well, here's a way of actually communicating with those people without even knowing who's using it, because it's going into this forum that can be responded to by whoever else is using it. So I think that's really something that's useful and can become increasingly useful in the future for people. Now, another thing that we did for collaborative, and I don't take any credit for this, again, because I'm not a technical person. It was a guy by the name of Steve Johnson who's making the presentation later on this week, who's at Mercer. He's very technical and very, very knowledgeable. And he had the idea, he teaches environmental law, I teach environmental law. He had the idea of saying, let's have a virtual discussion. Somebody will come in and give a speech at one law school. We will record it. We will make that recording available online and also transcribe it and make the transcript available online. And then we will have students from whatever law schools want to participate get this material, communicate on this one collaborative forum discussion list, and have the speaker also respond to questions that are raised by the students as well. And this was a first-time attempt, and like most first-time attempts, it was successful to a certain extent and not successful to a certain extent. We did have 3 virtual online speakers, one from Louisiana, and one from the University of Colorado, and one from Wuhan, China. And actually, I didn't hear him speak. He spoke English, I'm sure, but I read the transcript of what he did. But we had schools with 8 different schools from Pace in the Northeast, and Mercer, Colorado, Lewis and Clark, Oregon, University of Oregon, Southern Illinois, West Virginia, and Wuhan in China were the schools participating in this. And so we had somebody would give a speech, and it would be recorded and then transcribed and made available to people. And then the students, after having digested this, read it, they would communicate online through the Twen discussion and be able to, across the country, ask questions, and then have, after a period of time to look at all the questions, have the speakers be able to respond to the questions and comments that had been made. And so it was a way, just as Steve talked about having the Supreme Court justices who never step into the classroom, actually bring them not just with respect to a pre-prepared speech, but also be able to respond to it and see how people responded to their comments and so forth. And also the ability of people from different parts of the country and even outside the country be able to respond to a particular presentation. And that was sort of a unique experience. One of our problems was getting it started. It took a little longer to get started than we thought, largely because of transcription and real audio issues that has nothing to do with Twen. And we didn't get started until sort of halfway through the semester, so we'd hoped to have more speakers than we had. But we did have the 3, and it was very, very useful. Why do this? Well, it's for us. It was a real enrichment to the environmental law class to have these people come and speak about the particular areas of expertise. We had somebody who was the leader of the environmental law clinic at Tulane. That's sort of a big deal in environmental justice these days. They have the first environmental justice case in the country that they've won. They've had the governor try to put them out of business and de-accredit Tulane because they're so successful in their clinic. So it was really wonderful to have this guy be able to make this presentation on this program. And we had a guy in Colorado talk about recent air pollution regulations that the administration had just come out with, because that was his area of expertise. And if you teach environmental law, you can't keep up with all these different areas. You usually have some area that you're expert in, but if you're a clean water person, knowing what's happening in clean air is out of the question. So the ability to bring these experts in was really useful, and you could use it in your class as you wish. We both brought it in right into our actual classroom in class discussions, but then we also could take it outside in terms of bringing in the discussions online. So it was very useful in that regard. One of the things that it's important with these online discussions is that in any large class, you'll have students who like to talk. They're always talking in class. They're the ones who always have their hand up in the air. If you're lucky, they raise their hand. But then, of course, there's the students who don't talk at all. They're shy, whatever the reason it may be. If they don't want to talk, you'd like to get them involved in the discussion somehow. And I've found that the online discussion has just been wonderful in that regard. That some people who you couldn't get a word out of in class just open up online. They can compose their thoughts. They can say things online in ways they just don't feel free about doing in class. And so it's a way that they can participate, and that's by enabling them. I think it makes it a much better class and makes it a better educational environment for them. So that's what I've really found the most useful thing about Twen, is being able to open it up to those people who can't participate in class for whatever reason, and enable them to participate in a really full fashion. Now, if you have any questions, or Steve has some of your experiences.
Yeah,
And just to follow up a little bit, this part of why I use Twen, it's not only because I've been involved with it, because I do use other means as well for online teaching, building my own websites, all kinds of things I use in addition to Twen. What's extraordinarily valuable to me about Twen is its kind of complete integration. You can tie everything that you're doing in class together with content very, very easily, because anything that you post to the student that's in a Blue Book citation form is automatically going to be linked to Westlaw. You don't have to put in any URLs or any of that. You simply use a WordPerfect or Word or whatever it is that you use as your word processor. You use standard citation forms, so when you upload this to Twen, it's going to automatically be linked. And that's also true for discussions you have with students and with anybody else who is involved in Twen. So with a co-author sitting in Atlanta or San Francisco where he's trying a case or wherever it may be, responding to students can say, well, you're raising the point that we discussed or argued in the Smith case or the Jones case or this or that, and simply cite it. And then the student not only has the benefit of that discussion, but is tied in automatically, immediately, just by clicking to the content itself. And I find that link to content to be extraordinarily useful. Also, because this thing was designed for collaboration from the very beginning, the tools themselves have this in mind, being able to add a co-teacher, simply by putting her Westlaw password, being able to get a temporary password for folks who are not lawyers who don't have that sort of thing, being able to share forms. And since it's part of this West network to which everyone is ultimately linked there in those West servers, it's very easy to jump not only around the world, but very easy to jump among the schools and to get students from all the schools to participate in discussion forums and that sort of thing. So it is part of an integrated system that was designed for legal education and as part of legal research. And I find that standardization within the thing itself and the tight integration among all the parts, and especially the tight integration with the content, which is what we're mostly interested in the end, to be really valuable. It allows me as a teacher to bring my students closer to the issues, whether the issues are expressed in those cases, those statutes, those regulations, or to experts, or to other folks that I want to bring into the class. And I'm willing to admit, as I did at the beginning, as Bill started about his subject, my subject has really escaped me, and there are a few things that I know a little bit about, but a lot more I know very little about, that I feel that's important to integrate, to be involved, in the class itself. And this is a very, very efficient and effective way, because if you can bring outside folks into the class for the students, I don't care who it is, that adds another dimension that in my experience has always excited the students. And particularly if you as a professor, as a teacher, begin to engage, at least with the co-authors that I've done this with, we always get into some arguments about this issue or that. And of course the students find that very rich to see that disagreements, particularly if it's a classroom theoretical versus a clinical kind of practical approach. And anytime, of course, we can get excited about any issues, there's going to be more learning going on. So there are lots of tools out there to use, off-the-shelf things that you can buy and run and that are very effective and very good. What they don't have, why do this generally, but why use Twen, is they don't have this integration. They weren't designed for this purpose and don't work well for this purpose. The Twen has been under development for a number of years. And only last year was generally available after many, many years of testing. So it works, and it works well for this purpose. In my experience, it's also like Bill's with just general discussion forums with the students. The students putting aside the collaborative aspects with outside folks, the students enjoy the discussion forums, at least if they feel like that is adding to the classroom experience. If they see things that are being discussed in the discussion forums and that feeds back into the classroom, and it has been my experience, I think Bill's as well, but that's always what happens. You get them talking about something in any forum outside of the class that's going to carry over into the class itself and to make that class experience a much richer experience, which is really what I want to do in the end. Now, let me show you.
Reinforcement for the students is really, I mean, as any teacher knows, reinforcing students makes them like it more and makes them learn more. And when you have a collaborative situation where you have somebody from the outside, some expert, who actually communicates with them, it's maybe online, but some student makes a comment and the person comes back and responds to that. The student feels like, I've talked to Supreme Court Justice so-and-so, all right? I mean, I've communicated with him. And the total linking to these things, I had a student who cited a case in one of his online discussion things, and he posted it onto the discussion thing, and there it was in blue, linked so that anybody could go right to Westlaw. He didn't know he was doing that. He thought, wow, look what I've done. I made this link. He was going to tell you that he made this link, all right? It was all automatic, but he was really proud. He got this thing. So really a sense of giving them a step into technology, all right? And again, it's so simple, all right? It's simple for the students. It's simple for the professor. It's not something that turns them off. Right? It's something that gives them the reinforcement, not only substantive in that course, not only in terms of education generally, but also in terms of using the computer. A lot of our students are highly knowledgeable, some aren't. To the extent that we can sort of get them into the mode of doing it, it's really good. And I think one of the benefits of using Twen versus the standalone your own homepage is that to go to anywhere on the web, you've got to go there. All right. Now, if you've got 5 courses and 3 professors who have their own web pages that they want you to check every day, all right, that's 3 different places you've got to go, all right? With Twen, it's all on their page, all right? Every student has their own custom page, just like you'd have your own custom page. So on their custom page, it has their courses, all right? So there's all their courses. They don't need to go to lots of different places. It's all on their one place. And they get in the habit of going to that one place every day because that's where it's all happened. And that gets them into the mode of continuing the discussion and not having it something they just do some odd time. It's something part of their regular routine. And that really assists in trying to engage them in this process.
And part of the collaboration, too, the very first semester this was used, and this was a long time ago in terms of technology. This was 5 years ago. That's forever ago. I'd not heard of, there wasn't the web yet, at least generally, and all that. And I actually went to the faculty at Minnesota to ask permission to use this in class, just kind of as a professional courtesy. And the faculty, of course, said yes, although one of my colleagues there, who's a great international human rights specialist, David Weisbrod, who also teaches torts. Weisbrod is a great humanitarian, and he said, well, it's fine for Nichols to use this, but I think it's important we remember the human dimensions of this, and you don't try to replace class, that kind of argument. So that semester he was teaching torts opposite me in contracts. And when I teach contracts, my main job is to bash torts. And so during that semester, and his students were my students, we shared them. So they'd go into torts class, and he'd make some grand pronouncement, and they'd raise their hand and say, well, Nichols said that's bullshit, And so this started this huge, and so Weisbrod decided that he should get involved in this. And he was the second faculty member at Minnesota to get involved and start using it. And then our classes, and this is back in a very primitive form, but wasn't easy. But now, Twen, if you want your colleagues at your school to participate in your forums, you've got a checkbox on there where you can say yes. You can actually have that debate among your contract students and the tort students. It really does add to that very, very rich environment. And what's important, and Bill's so right with validation, they say, well, I made this comment to a leading practitioner, or to this expert, or I argued with the Supreme Court judge. Not only that they did it, but they did it and they survived. You know, they didn't blow up, they didn't get laughed at, you know, it adds. And you really do get much wider participation in those discussion forums, particularly if you're bringing folks in from the outside. That really does carry over into the class. Now, if you've got any questions or comments, please ask. I was going to show you the new version of this, which will be available in the fall, which is going to make collaboration even easier than it is now. Can you bring that up, Justice? What it will allow right now, if you want to create a class on Twen, you simply go to Westlaw, and there's a link over, or you can go to twen.com as well, and you can register and create your course. And it's really pretty simple. But our goal, West's goal from the beginning, is to make it just as simple as it possibly can be. So in the new iteration, don't click yet. In the new iteration, there are several features that are terrifically important. One is it is now even more integrated with Westlaw. I'm not privy to the strategy at West Group, but as I understand it from my little position, and as you see here, they really want a tight integration between Twen and Westlaw. That they are, it's hard to say 6 of one, half a dozen of another. So the new, what's called a user interface, the new look of this thing, looks essentially like Westlaw. It's very difficult to distinguish between the two. And there will be on Westlaw a link over to Twen, and on Twen, of course, there's a link back to Westlaw itself. You're working essentially in the same environment. But we've added now the easy creation approach. And if you were here this morning and saw this, I'm sorry for repeating it, but it really is going to make it tremendously easy. The professor now who wants to create a course on Twen and get involved in this, all she has to do is to go to the Twen page. Again, she can get there easily through Westlaw, and type in the name of her course. Let's say torts. I'm bashing torts. Torts. Duration of the course, and then it will ask, this little box ask you, well, what's the general subject area? And that's because the name of everybody's course does not obviously fit within some general subject area. And making that link is important, because once you select this area, and then you submit this for the course to be created, based upon what you've indicated there, Twen will automatically add content to your course, including the CALI exercises. So if you put torts in there as your area, when this course is created, there will be links to the CALI exercises and to other content that's peculiar for that subject area that hopefully links to your course, since you're the one who necessarily fit within that area. And then it asks, have you adopted a West Group or Foundation casebook for your course? Now, if you click no, you're not bounced out of the system. You can still, that's not a requirement at all. If you click yes, it will ask you to tell the name of the book. And the reason for that is, by putting in the name of the book, when you submit the course, again, your course online, from your view, will include automatically the teacher's manual, the author's form that Bill was talking about, because that's one of the problems. People don't know about these author's forms. Now, if you're using a Western Foundation book, you'll indicate on this first page, and automatically there'll be a link on your Twen page to that author's form. And also, some of us who are Western Foundation authors are arguing for West to include as part of this, for our books at least, to include, if you're using my book in debtor-creditor law, for instance, then you would automatically get the problem sets included in your Twen page, set up for a discussion among the students. And that's going to be on an author, a book-by-book a decision to offers, whether offers will allow that or not. They'll have complete control. But offers who want that, that'll be available for folks who are using their books. So, and then you answer that, and then you say submit, and then the course is created automatically. It's already there, and here we have several other courses already up there. But it will add a discussion database for your students to participate in. It will add a materials database, a course administration database, kind of default databases, all of which can be customized. What this is close to is when you buy any kind of software, you can do the standard installation, the default, or the custom. And what we've done is to create a default or standard installation for those who don't want to get very fancy with it. But all of it can be customized and you can add as many different discussion forums as you want with all kinds of options and this and that. And here's the standard. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
You're talking about a link to CALI exercise. Will that be a seamless link, or will we have to come up with passwords and log on and so forth?
It's a seamless link and works similar to how it does now. We recognize you through an agreement with the CALI people that we know your school through the association with the Westlaw password, that you're a CALI school member, and then that is placed upon your page. It is on the current version of Twen as well. But now what we've done is taken topical areas of those CALI lessons and associated those with the topical areas within Westlaw and within the Twen course setup.
So with the new iteration, we're trying to populate with more content on the page itself automatically, easy for you. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but they're going to be available. Trying to make lower and lower and lower the threshold for faculty to use technology, and also to give them more reasons to use technology, and that is the content or the functionalities that you have.
Can we make sure we go outside of the event, anything else out there, and we go to state or page?
Yes.
We can do that with relative issues.
Very easy. You can actually, within the new design of Twen, you have a favorite Twen areas area. And along with that, you can create links to internet sites by placing those into your favorite internet sites. You can create links to CALI lessons. You pick and choose from a list, as well as favorite Westlaw databases and also topical highlights and bulletins. You create all those. You change how you want those to appear on your page. Now, along with those, that's basically for your own use. You can do the same sort of thing with your course, and that's what happens a lot of the time. Well, that's what happens with the course creation.
Well, we can link to different textbooks. We use textbooks from other companies. We can link to those.
If they're on the web.
For the web. And I frequently, in materials that I prepare for the students when I'm responding, particularly when I'm preparing materials outlines for the students to include links to other sites, I simply build those, and I'm building the word processing page. How does your own ethic in there, and they're translated and are functional. Not limited just to that. Very difficult to link to Lexis from here. But you can link to everything out there that's public that you can get into. Very, very easy. I have actually uploaded the PowerPoint slides. I have not used sound, not with Twen.
Would you be able to download a reader software program from the net? Or at least if not download, at least incorporate it in the website in your grant package?
I'm not exactly sure.
I am using a testing package that requires the student to have resident on the student's computer to read the software. The preferred way of delivering that is off the net. I'm just wondering if, this is a transfer quotient, if you will, that it's copyright free. There are no copyright problems, but it's freely distributed. The reader program is. Would I be able to incorporate that reader software so that the student would maybe download it from Twen to their own machine?
Oh, I can't say that definitively. What I would do is suggest for you to speak to one of our technical people up in the lab, and they'd be able to elaborate on that a little better than I can.
Are you talking about simply building a link and a page that you can take them over to the yeah, you can do that. You can do that very easily.
I think you should do it that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's,
Okay,
that's very
I
easy.
thought you were actually incorporating it.
I mean, and I thought that you were talking first about PDF files. What I have done is I have linked out of the Twen document back to PDF files, on my own server at Wake Forest, for instance. And anything out there on the web, you could very easily link to. And that's what I did in your case.
The disk itself is indeed a PDF file.
But you could embed that link to that site where they go in and download it right there. Because when you're operating on the phone, you're simply operating on the web.
Yeah.
It's just part of the web itself. There's no special software. All you're using is a standard browser. Yes, ma'am. I just uploaded an outline. I just uploaded an outline view, and we all talked to Norman Garland, who was here this morning. He'll be back this afternoon. He in fact showed a PowerPoint presentation in outline form, exactly what you're talking about this morning.
You can do it by just scrolling through each of the slides. I think that's probably what you've done, where you just basically see the slides running in conjunction down the page by scrolling through. Another way to do it, we have that hot link to the file itself. That'll open up a separate window, and you can click through that just like you would a regular PowerPoint presentation, through spacebar and things like that. If you like, I'd be happy to show that in the lab too. Yeah, no, if you click on that hot link for the file name itself, it'll open up that separate window, and you can just click through it like you would. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, I've seen people upload it, but you have to, again, click on that video file, and then it'll open up that video, whatever video program you have. So it'll work on the web. From the start of this, there's been a group of law faculty who've been involved, and an ever-increasing group of law faculty to advise. And it really has been driven by faculty and designed to be an integrated tool. And there are a number of us who are arguing for more and more functionality while still keeping it simple and easy as possible. So those kind of things are on the menu to add. One of the things that they've tried to do, and I know because I've been there watching, and it's very quick to slip out and use front page or do something myself when it's going to do something I want it to do. But one of the things that I've learned is I want to be very, very careful to make sure everything works reliably and you achieve a level of functionality that's really sound and is really sustainable. And that's been important to me as a faculty member. If you're going to use this sort of thing for the students, it's got to work. I recently moved to Wake Forest, and they already had a wonderful infrastructure built. I didn't have anything to do with it. It was already there in existence. We had a wonderful, very large IS staff at Wake Forest as well. But what I found is even when you've got a wonderful infrastructure and you've got a wonderful staff, still if you're trying to do it yourself, it's a whole lot more labor intensive, and there's just more problems. I use some of the local support myself for some elaborate things. The basic classroom teaching, I'm able to use this quite well effectively, reliably. That there is a 1-800 number that the students can call any time of day or night, or you can call to get help in using it. But it is pretty intuitive and pretty simple, and is getting easier. For the reason that you have law professors, such as me, such as Bill, and again, I'm not, the reason I got into this in the beginning was I wanted something that was real easy to use, and I understand all the other stuff. You've got folks like us who've been giving advice in terms of what we wanted to do and how easy to
for it to be to use. And I can tell you that Justin, as a project manager, a large part of his job is talking to you and finding out what your suggestions are for making it better, both in terms of the range of things that you do and also the level of making it very, very easy to use.
How would we handle student registration? I don't have students that
Well, if you want to remove a student from your course, you can click on within your professor's tools, which is one of the offerings that we will have now within the course itself. So you can go back there. You'll get a list of the students. You would actually see the list of all the people who have registered for your class on Twen.
It's self-registering, which I think is, at least in my view, is one of the good things about Twen, is that the students register themselves for the course rather than you having to register them. And so you just tell them, go do it, and they do it.
Now, as a professor, you,
I did too. And you see, I'm trying to register. I had to register all the students myself, and then they had to come up with passwords. I had a lot of trouble with them getting on with the passwords, and I had to register them all individually in the first place. So I found that a hassle.
well,
not doing it when you told them to. Exactly. I understand that. That's, at least you get the list of who they are on available to you, so you can go tell them.
well, imagine if you've got 100 students, it can be a lot of work to try and load those students on. If you want to register them all, it depends on the size of the class. This way, you kind of put that under the auspices of the students themselves.
But there are certainly different philosophies on that, and I can understand why you might want to control it yourself. But I fall in the camp with Bill, and what I've done now for years is the assignment that I post for the students out there on that board. That I guess law schools will have 2,000 years from now. We'll have that assignment board out there. That will not have changed. That and having a course in bills and notes will never change. But what I do is, all I do is say, go to www.twen.com and register and get in our class. And, that's it. And from there they go and they register, they get on. The syllabus is already there for them. That syllabus is hot linked to the materials. And so I follow that camp. I certainly understand in some cases you want to control it, but if you take the approach that Bill and I do, it's easier than falling off a log. You don't even have to push back, put up that little note, and they go, and it's all done. And in terms of the syllabus, of course, the way you get it up there is do it in the word processor and upload it. And again, what is absolutely wonderful about this is any citations to cases, statutes, whatever, just using the standard citation form, are automatically linked to the content. And the student clicks on it, and it appears. And you back up, and you're back in the discussion. And especially when it comes back to this last one we'll end with collaboration, when you're able to involve not only in collaboration outside experts and bringing it in class, but to tie all that together easily and simply move among it, and then back to your syllabus very, very seamlessly is a wonderful experience.
This is very, very elementary close, so I just want to make sure I'm right. What we're looking at right now is a student's display, and now the faculty, or are they identical?
This is yours. This will be a professor's. Students would not have the ability to create or modify classes.
This is a professor's.
Right. So on the right side,
Courses are the courses I teach, not the courses.
or the courses that you are participating in as an observer, a read-only observer, a participant, a co-teacher. Any of those courses that you have some degree of participation in would be listed on here.
Can we see what the student page looks like, or can we?
The student page is the same essentially, except for
Different things?
they don't have the create or modify. They tailor this according to the classes that they are registered for or that they are allowed registration for.
So if they register for four classes, they're all going to show up there, just as if you're involved in 4 classes. And that includes if they're sharing forums with, if they're at Lake Forest and they're sharing a forum at Lewis and Clark. It's going to show up there, they're going to be able to get in. That's all done automatic.
Other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much for coming. I'm Craig. Sure. Yes, if you want to hand in your comments, we'd very much appreciate it. At the exit as well, please register for some prizes which we'll be giving away Saturday. And again, thank you for your time, and thank you for your comments, and enjoy the rest of the conference.